Have you ever wondered why ADHD and anxiety so often travel together, like two passengers on the same turbulent flight? On paper, they seem like different challenges. ADHD is about attention, focus, and impulsivity, while anxiety is about fear, worry, and constant what-ifs. But take a closer look, and you'll find they share a fascinating overlap, with brain chemistry and thought patterns weaving them into a complex web. This is where the nerdy deep dive begins, because when you understand how ADHD and anxiety interact, you start to see why life feels like such a storm for so many people. The ADHD brain is wired with differences in dopamine regulation and executive functioning. These are the very systems responsible for motivation, planning, and focus. When those systems misfire, life can feel like a game of constant catch-up, missing deadlines, losing track of tasks, getting distracted at the worst possible moments. Now imagine living with these challenges day after day. Stress builds, criticism piles on, and self-doubt becomes a constant background noise. That's the perfect recipe for anxiety to take root. Anxiety steps in and whispers, "What if you fail again? What if people think you're lazy? What if you never get it together?" Suddenly ADHD isn't just about attention, it's about living in a body that feels permanently on edge. The link gets even more intriguing when you look at how anxiety feeds ADHD. Anxiety floods the brain with worry, making focus even harder to maintain. You sit down to finish a project, but instead of concentrating, your mind runs through endless disaster scenarios. This makes the ADHD struggle with distraction and memory worse, creating a cycle where both conditions fuel each other. It becomes difficult to separate what's ADHD forgetfulness from what's anxiety overload. Many people go years being treated for one without realizing the other is quietly shaping their experiences. Another fascinating piece is how rejection sensitivity, a common experience in ADHD, acts as fuel for anxiety. A critical comment or even a small sign of disapproval can sting more deeply than most people realize. Those moments get stored in memory and later recycled by anxiety, replaying as evidence that you're not good enough. This creates a loop where the ADHD brain struggles to regulate emotions, and the anxious brain takes those emotions and magnifies them into future worries. It's a perfect storm, and for many, it's exhausting. But here's where things get hopeful. Once you understand that ADHD and anxiety are linked through brain wiring and chemistry, you can begin to respond differently. Instead of labeling yourself as lazy, careless, or weak, you can start seeing these patterns as signals. When procrastination shows up, instead of panicking, you can pause and ask, is this my ADHD making it hard to start, or my anxiety making me afraid of failing? That simple shift from judgment to curiosity can change the way you handle challenges. Curiosity opens the door to compassion, and compassion reduces the shame that makes both conditions worse. Science shows that treating one often improves the other. Managing ADHD with tools like structure, routines, or medication can lower the stress load, which reduces anxiety. Tackling anxiety with therapy, mindfulness, or grounding practices can free up focus and reduce overwhelm, making ADHD symptoms easier to manage. They are deeply connected, which means progress in one area is progress in both. What's most exciting about this nerdy deep dive is realizing that your brain isn't broken. It's wired differently, yes, but that wiring comes with strengths too: creativity, problem solving, high energy, and the ability to think outside the box. The goal isn't to erase ADHD or anxiety but to understand their partnership, manage their downsides, and unlock the hidden advantages. When you stop seeing yourself as flawed and start seeing yourself as someone with a unique brain chemistry, the storm feels less like chaos and more like a challenge you can learn to navigate. The deeper you dive into ADHD and anxiety, the clearer it becomes: these two conditions are not separate battles, but interconnected threads in the same story. By learning how they feed each other, you also learn how to quiet them. And that's the real secret: understanding isn't just knowledge, it's power. It gives you the tools to break free from the cycle of self-doubt and worry, and to finally see your brain for what it really is: unique, capable, and ready to thrive.